Well, hello.
Hi. How are you this morning?
Oh, the technology is a beautiful thing, except when it's not. So welcome. Those of you who are joining us and those of you who are watching later, we are glad you are here. This is Christmas Coffee with the Pastors at Valencia United Methodist Church. And so, Michelle, I'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us what you're drinking and about your cup as well, if it's anything special.
So I am Pastor Michelle Andrews, and I have been looking forward to this morning. We had such a good time last month, and so I have been looking forward to. This was one of those mornings where I needed something happy to focus on, so it has been this. Excuse me. So I have been a part of this church congregation for over 20 years and on staff for that length of time, and associate pastor now in my second year. And I love what I do and who I get to work with. And I love being in a group that is creative and willing to color outside of the lines. This is a skill that I did not used to be comfortable with. I believed that the lines were there for a good reason and we should abide by them. But I am continuing to learn that the lines are sometimes a suggestion and getting more comfortable with that. And I'm having some coffee this morning, and it's my same full of Christmas cheer mug from last month.
Nice.
I thought if I looked at it, it might help me be full of Christmas cheer today.
And I like your little tree behind you. That's really nice also.
Thank you. I got a tree this year for my office. I've wanted to do it for several years and did it. And then, the new order came and we all went back to working from home. So I figured I was going to make good use of it today.
Okay.
Share it with the people. Tell us about you and who you are and what you're drinking.
I'm Nicole Reilley. I'm the lead and teaching pastor here at Valencia, and I'm in my third year. And I am drinking probably my favorite Christmas tea. This is Whittard's Christmas tea. And I'm a big fan of Whittard's tea. It's probably my favorite tea. I like Fordham and Mason a lot as well, but Whittard's is kind of my favorite for Earl Grey and for Christmas. And I found this in London last year when I was there. And so this year I had to order it. So I ordered it from Whittard's and it came last week. And so I brought a box into the office. I'm enjoying that. And I have a mug that says, I am only a morning person on Christmas. Right? I'm only a morning person on Christmas.
That's a good day to be a morning person.
Right? It's a totally appropriate day to be a morning person.
Before we move on, what are the flavors of your tea?
Oh, let's see. It says an intense aromatic black tea infused with the flavors of spice and citrus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it just kind of has a, Christmassy kind of a smell.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes where I put orange and cloves and cinnamon in a pot of water on the stove and just let it simmer and make things smell nice. I haven't done that yet. I'll have to stop and get some things.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
It's kind of like mulling, but just to make the air nice, smell nice.
Just smells nice.
That's nice. Okay. Is there a scripture that you're working on or thinking about?
So we film for worship on Wednesday afternoons, and I went home from filming yesterday and was just kind of searching around at some different things, and I came across Bishop Michael Curry, who's the presiding bishop over the Episcopal Church, his Christmas letter for the last several years. And I think this was maybe from 2018, and he in this letter references John 3:16. Which I referenced in a sermon for the end of the month, and you referenced yesterday. And I thought, I should pay attention now that this has come up a couple times. But in his letter, he talks about that it's a passage we generally talk about and think about more at Easter. But he was reading a commentary one time by a professor, and Professor Brown said that this passage, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, so that all who believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Not only speaks about Jesus giving up his life on the cross for us, but it actually speaks about Christmas, and of God giving his very self, his son, to the world, not because God was going to get anything out of it, but for the good and the welfare and the well-being of God's people. And I thought, oh, well, that's a lovely one to sort of sit and think about last night, and thought about it again this morning. And so true. So true.
Yeah, it was fun to use again, because this week we're talking about love. So it just seemed, like a natural one for us to look at and reflect on again. Yeah, I think it is one of those texts that we tend to just think about not at Christmas, but I think it really is. Yeah, I think that's true. It really is a Christmas text. I like that.
It is. How about you? What are you reading or thinking about?
I think we've had a couple texts, and this week is Matthew 1:18 through 23. But we've had a couple texts where, we hear from the angel, and the angel says, "Fear not." So I think I'm really kind of living in that word right now, because I think it's just, it's been a lot. It's been a lot the last couple weeks. And I think it's easy for me just to fall into, oh my gosh, right? And that text reminds me, or those words remind me that, I don't have to worry about this stuff. I just got to show up and do what God gives me to do. And I don't need to have any worry in the midst of it, that it does come together. So I think that's what I have been thinking about that text, both yesterday and then for the last couple weeks.
And it's one of the mysteries, right? That when we are willing to put in our very best, which is imperfect and not the best that there is, but when we're willing to put in our very best, that the Holy Spirit comes in the mysterious way that it does.
Yeah.
And sort of softens the rough places and fills in where we couldn't fill in. And if you pay attention, you can see when it happens.
Yeah, and I think the other piece for me is that it's such a better way to live, right? It's the difference between feeling the weight of the world and I got to figure this out, to just taking your place as the creature instead of the creator, and receiving what God has, instead of feeling I need to generate it, I need to figure it out. I'm like, okay, let's just be quiet and wait. I felt very much like that when I woke up on Saturday and saw the news about Safer at Home. I was, my husband and I talked about it, and like, should the church meet? Should the church not meet? Where we're at numbers wise. And after talking to him and getting his opinion and thoughts and looking at the times and, looking online, and I just thought, I just need like 30 minutes of prayer. I just need to be quiet, because I don't know what's the right thing now.
Yeah.
And just listening and letting that not be my burden to figure out, but an opportunity for me to cooperate with what God is already doing, and to listen to that. So yeah.
I think sometimes when we think that we are being helpful to God, we really are actually, the opposite is happening.
Say it ain't so, Michelle. No.
I'll only speak for me. I will not speak for you. It has happened a time or two.
Yeah. Totally. I totally feel like that.
God does not always need me to think that I'm being helpful. It turns out.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, this is one of our last time we did it, we talked about Thanksgiving memories. So I thought
Mhm.
we could talk about, a Christmas memory that you'd share from your life.
Yeah. So I grew up in a military family. My dad was an Air Force officer, and only for a couple years were we stationed actually next to or close to my aunt, my dad's sister, and my dad's brother. But other than that, we were always across the country from family. But my grandmother, my dad's mom, would come every so often. She would come at Christmas, and she lived in Tucson. And before she went to the airport, she would go to wherever, some market, and get fresh tortillas. And if she could, she would get them the morning that she was flying. And she had this blue, round, baby blue suitcase
Yeah.
that perfectly fit the large flour tortillas. And it was probably like 6 or 7 inches tall, deep, and it would be filled. And it was so heavy that my brother and I would always say, I'm going to get the tortillas this year. And then we would try to pick them up off of the luggage thing, and we never could because it weighed so much. But
Why?
my dad grew up in Tucson, and obviously my aunt and uncle did too. And when we lived back east, you couldn't get good, fresh, homemade tortillas. And so
Wow.
that was one of the things that she would bring at Christmas. And yeah, and then we would do all sorts of things with them, quesadillas and burritos and enchiladas and all that kind of thing. But as I was thinking about Christmas memories, it really has nothing to do with, Christmas trees and decorations. But I was thinking about my Grammy and her tortilla suitcase.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. I totally can see that in my mind, that kind of old-fashioned suitcase. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The tortilla suitcase.
I don't
I
know
love
what
it.
she did with it going back to Tucson because that was what the tortillas came in.
I know, right? Huh.
How about you, a Christmas memory?
I was thinking about so many things, and this morning when I was getting dressed, I put on my Christmas pin. I don't know if you can see my Christmas pin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece of pottery. It's a spode Christmas dish, and I bought this a couple years ago. And I bought it because when I was growing up, I'm the oldest of four, and my brother right after me, David, he used to save his money and buy a piece of spode for our mother for Christmas. And that's a really peculiar kind of thing, right? Like 6 years old, he's buying a piece of spode. 7 years old, he's buying a piece of spode. I'm not sure how he had the money to do this. I'm not sure if she helped out. I'm not sure how that worked. But over the years, then she had, and it wasn't a lot, she had, 5 or 6 pieces of spode that he bought, a dish or a cup or things like this. And so he died quite a while ago. And so when I wear this pin, I think of him, and I think of, what it's like to be a child, and and be so focused not on all that you're getting, but what you're giving. Right? I mean, I think that's, I look back on it now and I'm just like, I never would have thought about what I was giving my mother, but he really thought about that. So I have my little spode pin that reminds me of that. And it's also just, I just love that pattern too. It's a pretty pattern.
Does
I
she
never,
still have all the spode?
no, I don't know. I don't know. She lives out in Rancho Mirage. I imagine she does. She's one of those people who has a lot of dishes and knickknacks and antiques and antique furniture and all that kind of stuff. So I would imagine she still has some of it if she doesn't have all of it, over these years, because that would have been, uh, you know, 40 years ago kind of thing that he had started doing that. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that Christmas memory. So how will Christmas be different for you this year with all that's going on?
Well, I think I don't fully know yet how it will be different, right? There are some pieces of it. Katie, our younger daughter, and I were talking last week, and she said, so what do we do on Christmas Eve? Because my girls grew up being here from 3 p.m. until after midnight. And so that was Christmas Eve, was being here. And while we will be here for part of the evening this year, it won't be the same. So I need to do a little research and figure out what it is that people do when they don't work at a church on Christmas Eve. Because my mom worked in the church, and so I grew up the same way. So I'm unfamiliar. And we are still in the waiting game, as so many are, about who is coming for Christmas. So we won't be with my dad. We won't be with my brother and sister-in-law like we normally are. And so to be determined will be that. I'm hoping that Christmas Eve will be different from previous years, and that there will be some downtime, which there has not been. And so I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll report back in January.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, so different, right? Jacob, our son, has lived away from California since he went to college. He went to Boston for 5 years for undergrad and his master's, and then he's been in New York for medical school. And usually he's been able to come home. I mean, always, sometimes not Thanksgiving, but always for Christmas. And so that won't happen this year because he's taken very seriously all of that stuff. And we want him to take that stuff seriously. So he won't be coming. And he was coming, and Julia's fiance is coming. They were going to do some Christmas planning and all, and wedding planning for what's coming up in February for them. So it's very different. And of course, everything's really different at the church. It's just super different. It's depressing sometimes, right? It's depressing. But I keep trying to say to myself, if we get through it and we're all healthy January 1, then okay. And that's, but I'm letting myself feel the disappointment. One of the things I'm working on these days is not just saying, okay, well, you feel this or you feel that, push that aside and get back to work. But just to say, okay, I feel these things, and this is a disappointment. And the image I have in my mind is, like I feel disappointed. I feel sad. Okay, sadness and disappointment, come in and pour yourself a cup of tea and sit down, right? Like, you're welcome here because you are how I feel right now. And that's okay. That's, it's just human stuff. Some days are better than others, right? I think as we deal with the disappointment of the season and just the year, right? People didn't get to graduate. You didn't get to graduate in the same way, right? Just all the stuff. I think there's just a lot of sadness, a lot of disappointment, but I'm looking at what we can do. I think I had maybe the weekend where I just felt, not again. We have to, reimagine the holidays at the church again. But, then I started coming together and I started feeling God's leading. And I thought, okay, we can figure this out. We can figure out what Christmas looks like, and we can figure out how to do it. I mean, I had a really nice Thanksgiving. It was just Jeff and I, and we had a really nice time. So I'm like, okay, so you can have a really nice time. You can figure it out. So our tradition has been that we would have, originally it started out as sushi. We would go out for sushi on Christmas Eve, and then have church, or have church and then have sushi. And then it switched to getting oysters. So we'd have, oysters and champagne on Christmas Eve.
Nice.
And I think like my first year here, it's like by the time I got home, it was like 2 a.m. or something. But still, I had my oysters. So, I'm like, okay, there are things we can still do, and let's do those things and focus on that. We in my family host who different people host Christmas dinner. So this year would have been my year to host at my house. And that would be my brother and his girlfriend and son and my sister and her husband and daughter and my parents. And then usually assorted neighbors and sometimes Jeff's sister. And so we're not doing that, right? We're not doing that. And so, there's an upside to that and there's a downside to that. But I think, Jeff still says he wants to make a standing rib roast. So,
Nice.
Yeah, he's such a great cook. So that helps, that we're going to work on it. But I think there's a lot that's not the same. But finding what's possible and not being afraid of the feelings, or thinking, you should suck it up and not feel bad, because it is. I mean, it is a disappointment. I think with feelings, it's feel them and move through them. So you can get to the other side when it's time to get to the other side. Yeah. So that's kind of
last week or so, a couple weeks, because we've been having this ongoing conversation with Megan, right, who is in Virginia, has not been home since last Christmas, which is the longest we've ever gone. And because we, approach all of this with thoughtfulness, with our heads as well as with our hearts, and trying to figure out what to do. So my prayer for the last couple weeks has just been for wisdom in the decision. But I woke up this morning and my prayer had become for peace with the decision, whichever way it goes. And I texted her and said, for whatever it's worth, right, this is where I am this morning. And I think we'll need peace, whichever way, whatever the decision is, right? We will need peace in that. So it certainly is an ongoing process of trying to figure out what to do. And Christmas, it will still be Christmas, even though it looks very different. You're not wearing with who. It will still be Christmas.
It will still be Christmas. I like that. Sounds like a sermon title.
We should do that.
We should do that. Okay, what is a food or activity that's essential for your Christmas?
So because my parents grew up in the desert Southwest, as I said before, my mom worked at the church, and so my whole childhood was spent at church on Christmas Eve. So Christmas Day has never been a sit-down meal, put on your fancy clothes. It's always been, if you want to take a shower and put your pajamas back on for the whole day, have a good time, right? Sometimes we sit at the table, sometimes we just kind of graze. But we always had chips and queso growing up, and I haven't done that in a number of years. And so I think there will be chips and queso.
Sounds nice.
On Christmas this year. Yeah.
That sounds really nice.
Good. How about you? What are you going to eat or do?
Well, I talked about some of like the champagne and the oysters for Christmas Eve for the food. I don't know. I think I really love the Christmas stocking. So there's always so many fun things in the Christmas stocking. And one of the things I look forward to is molasses chips, See's Candy molasses chips. Not for you, huh? Not your favorite?
Any of those that we acquire, I will bring for you happily.
Okay, good. I like just the milk chocolate. I don't like the dark chocolate. Okay. So, and sometimes it's hard to find the milk chocolate. So this year I had to order some See's Candy for family. And I said to Jeff, I ordered my molasses chips. So, that's usually what I eat for breakfast.
Love it.
On Christmas is that. And, And we usually get going. I mean, we usually, take showers and get going and go somewhere and all of that. So this year, I think we'll, I'm trying to convince Jeff to turn the heater on so we could swim in the pool.
I think that sounds like a fabulous idea.
Right. It's just costs so much money.
Well,
right? To heat the pool costs so much money. So I'm like, so we never heat it. We heated it earlier this year when we were on Safer at Home at the beginning. We had some work done on the pool and we thought we're just gonna heat it for a little bit, but it was like summertime. It was right before summer. So we kind of heated it. So we extended summer at the beginning and then we turned the heater on once it got to be summer, but turn the heater off once it got to be summer. But yeah, so I don't think we're going to do that, but I would like to go swimming on Christmas. So maybe I'll just go when it's, I don't know how cold it gets, like 60. I'll do that polar bear plunge in my pool.
Do that and you let me know.
You don't want to come over and go swimming when it's 54 in the pool?
No, but I will warm the towels for you and have them ready.
Oh, you're such a good friend. I appreciate it.
I'll make you some tea and give you a warm towel and yep.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. What are you looking forward to at the church that's coming up?
So there's a couple things. I'm have one more weekend with one group in an Advent study, and my Friday morning women's group is actually starting the study tomorrow. So I don't always love doing the same study twice, but I'm super anxious and excited, anxious in a good way, to be able to go back through and reread and rethink about. It's an Adam Hamilton study, and he always engages my brain and always gives me stuff that sort of stick with me and I think about. And I love my Friday morning group. We have great conversations. So I am looking forward to the next couple Fridays and sort of diving into those scriptures. It's a study that he wrote this year, so it's relevant to election and pandemic and all of that. And it's been really interesting to sort of think about Christmas and bringing Jesus into the world, not 2,000 years ago, but in 2020 and all that we're living through. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. And we've got some new things that we were so creative this week and so fabulous in some ideas. So are any of our new things what you're looking forward to?
So the new things we came up with this week were a week from Monday. So what's that, the 21st? The 21st, we're doing this hymn sing, which I'm looking forward to because I feel like one of the things that's so important of this season is the music. And so to give people an opportunity to do some singing at home, and to be able to request things, I think that I'm hoping people will be part of that and find that fun. Yeah, and then I'm looking forward to, so we created an additional worship service for people who watch online of our family service. And one of the things I love is all of the children and their singing at Christmas time. So we didn't have a lot of recorded stuff from the live stream, but we had some recorded stuff from another source. So we're gonna put together some kind of montage or something. And so that will just be kind of a creative, fun thing. And then, the idea that we're doing with the Christmas Eve, where we're doing a walkthrough event, kind of like we did for Advent celebration, which I think will be good. It's certainly going to be different, but I think it will be good. I think it will be a good opportunity for folks. And then I just was doing some research this morning on the series that happens after Christmas, and we're going to start a new series on the 10th, And so one of the things that we're looking at is kind of what the logo is and how that works. And so getting some ideas for that. And then this epiphany tradition called the star card or star word, which is that you, and I had heard of this last year, and I guess some churches have done it for a long time, but the idea is on the first Sunday of the month, when you celebrate Epiphany, so the wise men coming to the child Jesus, that you, as people come for communion, they get a star, a paper star that has a word on it. And they're invited to kind of live into what God would have for them out of that word. So they're words like, love and hope and friendship and sacrifice and all kinds of words. And so I thought, Sherry and I were talking this morning about how we could do that as a church, even remotely, and how we could make that happen as a way to, help people to work on their discipleship and work on keeping things of God in front of them in the new year. So I got excited about that this morning. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of creativity in this time, I will say. So anything else you'd like to share?
I wanted to say thank you for what you said a minute ago about sitting with your feelings, right, when you have them, because I am kind of the same, where I feel like I should just kind of push them aside so that I can be available for whatever else it is. A friend the other day made the decision, she and her family are not going back east for Christmas. And so we were texting and she said, I'm just going to go home and have a pity party for a while. And so I sent her a meme that was like party on, or, something like that, just affirming that there are those times when we have to just sit. And this morning was one of those times for me where I was just kind of in a funk and mad about all of it and everything. And, all of it. So it's okay. I need to tell myself and friends too, it's okay to feel those things. That's part of how we were created. But we don't have to stay there, right? It is okay. Right. It's okay to feel it and then still have Christmas cheer and have the lights on and the smells and the drinks and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think part of our suffering in this time is the resisting of our feelings. Right? So we feel sad about what's not happening, and then we try to resist that feeling, which somehow just seems to turn it up louder in our heads, right? And then we get angrier at ourselves or angrier at other people who may be feeling those things, and we just have like very little tolerance for them and their feelings. So yeah, I think this morning I woke up in a just awful mood and just was, did my usual like prayer practice in the morning and was spending some time writing. And I was just thinking, I was just list all the things I was feeling and just thought, okay, like y'all just pour a cup of tea and have a seat. I'm not going to resist you. You're just here. And, and that I think just acknowledging and just letting them be, then, having that little pity party and then it's okay. Then you move through it. I had not decorated my office. And I was just like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Even at home, Jeff did most of the decorating and some of that was because I'm on deadline for my book, but I'm not doing it. It's just, I'm not in the mood. And then I thought when I came in, I was like, okay, I'll put out one thing. And then I know, right? I don't know if I can, let's see.
Yeah, please show everyone.
Oh, yes. So there's all the decorations and the stuff. And I've got this big sign that says Merry Christmas.
And you have sparkly red berries above your head, I think, too.
Yeah, I think I have these. How do you do that? Okay, there you go. Sparkly in my believe thing. So yeah, but it was, it's, feel the feelings, don't resist them, and know that um, that's actually how you do it, right? If you resist it, it makes it hang around longer.
It will be back.
Yeah. And the other thing I've learned is like, you have to, where are they in your body? If I'm feeling sad, where do I feel that? Okay. And if kind of get out of your head and to feel where it is in your body as a way to process it. But yeah, I think it's a thing. It's a thing.
Any
Okay.
closing words of Christmas wisdom for us?
I don't think so. I have no Christmas wisdom. I think that the thing that is helping me in this time is I have my morning practice. One of the things in my morning practice is I pick a song. I intentionally pick a song and I listen to it. And so that's been great because it has helped. I go into my iTunes and I just think, what song do I want to hear? And I just listen, and it's lifted me up. It's helped me feel better. It's helped me feel more present and more positive, because Christmas music is so much a part of the season, and it's not always a Christmas song I pick, but I think that we have to look at what's going to help us right now and do those things, right? So if the decorations or the music or beauty always attracts me. So looking at the decorations in London right now and just seeing how glorious they are, it just lifts you up. And I think that we need to look for those things to lift us. So
I agree. Well, Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas. And we'll probably do something in the new year where we'll do another New Year tea, because it's going to be, Michelle, I understand, it is going to be the best year ever.
Do you now? Is this what you understand? Have you had divine revelation?
No. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just like, right? I'm just like, okay, it's going to be.
The words that I will eat from this year are, it was the first or second Sunday in January, and it was a Sunday morning, and I was doing the welcome, and I said, I am so happy that it is 2020 because I don't like odd numbers. I like even numbers, just generally in the world. Odd numbers are annoying to me for some reason. And I was so happy that it was 2020 because it was an even number. I apologize for putting that out there into the world.
Into the world.
It did not work out so well.
Well, and do not take responsibility for it, because what was the 5-day course I taught online? How to have your best year ever, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And here's the thing though, right? Every year has challenges. This year particularly, right? But every year's challenges. How do we be faithful? How do we show up fully? How do we, be God's people? Because it's always something. There's never a perfect year, vacation, or relationship, or family event, or church, or it's always, how do we find what God has for us in the midst of it?
And I think there have been some things this year that have been the best, right? We have to dig a little bit and think a little bit, because they're certainly not on the surface, but I think we all have that. And it's why I know that it will be Christmas, right? Because God continues to love us through Jesus and each other, and in all the ways that God loves us. And that makes it the best year every year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really what it's about. So, okay. So I think we're gone through our list of all the good things to talk about.
We did.
And I'll close us with a prayer. Let's do that. Okay. God, thank you for this time that Michelle and I have had to catch up and to explore Christmas traditions and what you're doing in the midst of today's world. Keep us focused on you and on your love in this season, and help us all to be your people in this world. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Thank you, my friend.
Bye.